Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 2 of Recently Retired. We are so excited for you guys to hear our first real episode. This topic we're going to talk about is leadership. So, Livy, what is your definition of leadership?
Well, there's so many ways to define being a leader, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's pretty hard to define it, but I think being a leader is someone who is selfless, puts their team first, and really just gives everything that they have for the greater good, I would say.
Yeah, period.
How would you define it?
I think it's also like leading by example. I think that was like the biggest way I was a leader throughout my career. Like when you can't always be out there on the field playing, or like you can't always be like the one making the calls, like in the captain's meetings with the coaches. Like you can just lead by example, like do what you're supposed to do and be a good teammate overall. And I think people will look up to you no matter what. Like you don't have to have the armband. If you do if you do hard things and you work very hard and you're kind, people will eventually like gravitate towards you and look up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, there's people I see in my everyday life that I'm like, wow, like,
Yeah.
they're incredible. And you just want to be like them. It doesn't even matter, like, who it is, right?
Right.
So it's just about, like, having those qualities of selflessness, kindness, and just wanting to help other people.
Yeah, and I also think it's like you have like some people can become leaders and that takes time and they need to develop skills, and then other people are like naturally born leaders. Like people just gravitate where they follow. And
Hmm.
I think that's something to be said too. So it's like no, I think knowing which type of leader you are as you're getting older and into like different settings, so that way you can play to your strengths. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, I would say, like, I guess it depends on your personality. Like, if you're
Right.
outgoing and vocal and you like being the attention, if you like dealing with controversy and you can handle
Me.
that, then I think it just like, right, it kind of falls more into your lap.
Right.
Whereas there's a lot of other people who want to work towards that and can build up those characteristics. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily, you don't have to be like a crazy outgoing person to be like a great leader or a great captain and great teammate. But
Right.
that's just something I think that helps when going about it because you want that attention, some may say, or yeah.
Yeah, and I think we've had some great role models in our lives who have been leaders and have been in type leadership type positions, but we've also had some been affected negatively by leadership in time. So that's what we're gonna kind of get into today of like what leadership has looked like for us, and hopefully you guys can relate to some of the experiences of leaders in your life or the way you've become a leader and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. So starting off, like, who's one leader from your childhood? Well, basically our childhood, but that you would say really impacted you positively, and if so, like why?
Yeah. I think like I had a lot of leaders in my life up until this point, but like when we got into high school and I really kind of needed that like push and direction and drive, when the age split happened, I don't know how many of you remember that, but we had to conjoin teams.
Well, so basically for soccer, the age, what it used to be, the year was like August 1st through August 1st. So no matter, it just fell on your birthday, right? So we had people who were born in
2000.
2000 and then people who were born in 2001, because if your birthday was in August of 2000 and then we were May of 2001, we were all playing on the same team. And then our sophomore year of high school, the USU soccer changed the rules to just your birthday. So it'd be just the year you were born. So
Like
just
2001.
2001, 2002, 2003, and so on. So all those people who had August through December birthdays in 2000 had to go up and play with all the rest of the 2000s, where our team then went from everyone who was born in 2001 in our area became one team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for describing that. We
Mm-hmm.
became the O1s technically. So we each had like a
Mm-hmm.
different coach. So like we had a coach and they had a coach, and then it wasn't really fair to just pick one. So we had a new coach come in, and this was right around the time when Neil, our head coach at Binghamton, came in and brought in two assistants. So one of the assistants became our coach, and her name is Taylor Schramm, and she is now the head coach of Dartmouth women's soccer. Shout out Taylor. And she was definitely one of the biggest role models in my life. She was, yes, such a natural born leader. Like it was evident in every quality of her, and she just had such a like communication about her, the way she held herself, that like I admired. But then she also like pushed each player in the way that they needed to be pushed, which like looking back on, I did not think was fair in the time, because I'm like, this is bullshit, Taylor. Like, but now looking back, she tailored like the way she coaches. Um,
Coached?
yeah, coaches. She tailored the way she coaches to each individual player, and I thought that's the way that every coach should, because some people need to be pushed very hard, some people need to just like have some free reins to play. And then she also was just like, the way she motivated us was so intense but also kind. The way she stood up for us and had our backs was so just like authentically her. And I don't know, I think she was just a big leader in my life that I look up to in like every aspect. So I'd say she was definitely like one of the biggest leaders in my childhood growing up.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. I mean, like you said, just being able to like cater to everyone's needs one on one while also coaching 25 girls at one time
Right.
is a skill many people dream to have and probably never will. But I mean, it was also just like every single person, no matter if she was screaming at you or whatever, like you wanted her approval. Like
Yeah.
you wanted to make her happy. You wanted to win for her. She made you want to win for your teammates. Even again, like we weren't really close with those girls. We just kind of had to become a team right away while also trying to earn a spot on a college team and get
Mm-hmm.
scholarships. So it was like this really intense time for us. And she just like made us all want to do better for each other and for her, no matter the circumstances, which I think is such a big thing when it comes to leadership. And this could go for the workplace too, right? Like if you have a boss and you want to do good for them,
Mm-hmm.
then you will, right? Like I don't know. I just feel like in college or high school especially, like if there was leaders that people didn't respect and didn't want to do well for, then that's where fallouts happen, that's where like losses happened.
Yeah. You
So
definitely need to have strong leadership, and I think that's proven in every way. Like right now I'm taking a leadership class, and it's so much about like how like the employees, or in this case like the team, how they like look up to their leader. Does their leader hold themselves accountable? Are they humble? Are they like, can they laugh at themselves? Can they like explain how they messed up and they made a mistake? Like, and I think just recognizing those things is also so important in a leader, like being able to acknowledge like, hey, I messed up too, I'm not perfect either, but I want to like work on this with you guys and together, and I want your feedback. And I think also like some leaders who don't ask for feedback and don't look for that really have a hard time knowing what their players want or what their employees want.
yeah, definitely. I mean, so many times when I was a captain in college, I'd go into meetings and our coaches would be like, what could we do better?
Yeah.
And like being open to that and being able to ask for advice from your team, is
Yeah.
super important, and just show like you're trying to connect on the same page. You want what's best for everyone. You're not just here to be like it's my way or the highway type thing.
Yeah. And like I said too, like I think even when you're asking for feedback, if you know you're not going to be able to change everything that like the players want, even just having them have a voice that's heard and being able to change like one thing they ask for or
Mhm.
tweak one thing, like that can be just so helpful and allow the team to like know that their voice is heard and that they matter and like what they want plays a part.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think another example too is when our head coach in college like allowed us to like have meetings with the new assistant coach when
Mhm.
that was our last year, but like allowing us to interview them and like see their like personality and qualities like was so helpful. Like we get to have a say in who our assistant coach is, and even if like we really don't at the end of the day, like still getting our input and like feedback and making us feel like we had a voice, which we did in this case because he chose the one that we said we wanted. But like,
Mhm.
um, I don't know. I think like another example of that is
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he was just letting us talk to him by ourselves.
yeah,
Like we could have been saying who knows what, and our head coach wasn't there. So it was just us
yeah,
being able to connect with a potential new assistant and being able to choose, who we felt comfortable with, who we thought was gonna build our program up.
yeah, and giving us the responsibility to do that, like giving us
Hmm.
that, like, hey, I trust you guys.
Yeah, and kind of a little bit of power, like in our own future, right? Because it
Yeah,
impacts us just as much as it would impact him, right?
right.
And then another example, when we didn't everyone used to not travel for our away games.
Mm-hmm.
So there used to be like a travel roster. So you had to be, I think he traveled 20, and we had
Yeah,
27 girls on our team. So if you were injured, you didn't travel, and then if there, say there's 400 people, that means 3 people who were healthy weren't able to travel to away games. So Tori and I just were like kind of fought against that and was just like, we think it'd be so beneficial for the entire team to travel.
Yeah.
Having everyone together, having everyone on the bench, like just that voice when you have an away game is so important. But also, like, when you're home and you're seeing Snapchats in the Snapchat group or
Yeah.
Instagram stories, and you're just like, it's just brought such a different vibe when we were able to travel everyone, and then we won 2 regular season titles back to back years,
Hell
right?
yeah.
Like,
Hell yeah. No, I think it was like we were literally in Maui, Hawaii on vacation, and we were calling you. Like that's how important we felt it was, and we just appreciated that out of the leader and our coach to be willing to change because, like, me and Livy said, like we would sleep together every night and like have 2 other girls in our room too if the whole team could travel. Like we didn't care what we had to do funding wise, budget wise, like if we had to share rooms, like we were so like okay with that as long as people could come and travel and be a part of the team. And then we eventually kind of tweaked it and helped him because like some of the injured girls maybe they didn't want to travel to the games that were 10 hours away, and things like that, so giving like the injured players an option but letting the girls who are all healthy come and like be a part of the team, like, and I think it did make a difference clearly. So
definitely did. I agree.
so that's a positive of what leadership can look like when you're open to change and open to feedback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, getting back to it, I kind of explained my youth kind of role model and leader that I
Mm-hmm.
looked up to, but you want to get
Yeah.
to yours?
I mean, I had so many. Obviously, Taylor was one, but Tori already explained that. So I would probably say just like my parents. I know it sounds like cliche, but
Super cliche.
yeah, definitely. But like, just the fact that they were able to allow us to play travel soccer. I mean, all 4 of us, they gave everything that they could, and literally any extra penny that they had left over like went to helping us. And they never bought anything for themselves for 20 years, like that. I feel like it's just like the definition of selflessness and leadership. And they also guided us. Like so many times they would be like, "Are you sure you want to play soccer?" And this was after they put what, so much money and time into it, and they still were like, "If this is not what you want, you don't have, like, we're not forcing you to do anything. Like
Right.
if you love this, then we'll support you and do what we can to make it happen. But if this isn't your dream, even senior year of high school, when we're already committed to a school and put all this time into it, then that's okay." And I think that's also just the definition of leadership and putting, others before yourself, and just allowing, mistakes and being okay with that. So,
Yeah. No, I think that's huge in a leader is like consistently asking and consistently like searching for like, is this what you guys want? Is this what you're asking for? And our
mhm,
parents just played such a big part, and like they didn't push us, like force us to go to practice. They actually asked us to not go to practice times, to take off and rest because we were training like 7 days a week at times, and they were like, please, like just stay home and rest. Like mom would be like, if we ever napped, she'd be like, oh gosh, like you guys need to skip practice. We're like, mom, it was just a nap. But like they just were constantly aware of like we are humans before we are athletes. And I
mhm,
think that's such a huge lesson to all leaders out there, like your teammates or your coaches or anybody around you like in your environment are a human before they're their roles, and you need to look at them like that, and that's how like a great leader can see change and impact.
definitely. I think going back to youth, when you look at some of the people who had so much talent but ended up not continuing, or the people who, you thought loved it so much and thought were gonna go to top D1 schools, whatever, like ended up not playing in college, or quitting, junior year of high school.
Yeah.
And looking back, like I feel like leadership had such an impact on that, because when you have, it depends if it was coaches, parents, other teammates. Like if you have people, forcing you and putting these unrealistic expectations on you, then you will burn out.
Yeah.
You will not want to continue, because like we said earlier, when you have a leader who you want to win for and you want to play for, then it actually makes you happy. It makes you want to
Yeah.
do it. But if there's someone there that you're like, I want to lose because I want to see them lose, then that's where struggles come in. Like
Yeah.
we had a teammate, I remember, just so much pressure, so much pressure. You know, you have to score this many goals. You have to
Yeah.
do this. Like, we're expecting you to go to this top school,
And
whatever it
this
may
is like
be.
coming from parents and herself.
Yeah, and coaches, and it was just like it's so much to put on a child. And looking back, the way we got to how we were, the accolades that we won, the people that we are now, was because, you know, there was no like unnecessary pressure. It was just do the best you can, have fun. If you don't want to do it, you don't do it, and that's that.
Yeah, because you have to want it, like
Right.
within.
At the
Like
end of the day, it's not
it's
someone
yeah.
else
Your
forcing you.
parents can't make you do it. They can't make you train hard. They can't make you, work harder than everybody else at the training session. Like that's on you. And
Hmm.
I also wanted to go back and touch on like our leaders that we admired. Like they were not perfect by any means. Like no leader is. Like
Yeah.
there were times where I'm like, Taylor, you like seriously? And like same for like our parents. Like there was at times where like, they would say something that like after a game, like they would be like I remember dad coming up to me one after like my first game senior year and was like, if you're not gonna try or put in any effort, like you're not going to play this season, like something out of pocket. And I'm like, Dad, I just scored like a hat trick or something. Like, what?
Yeah, but to be fair, you got to work harder.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm just saying, like, they're
Yeah, but
as much as
our
we,
parents hated when like we looked like we thought we were better than people,
right.
and was like, yeah, we're not going to try because we have
Yeah.
this many goals. And again, like a leader also holds you accountable.
No, yeah.
And I'm
But
not saying that that was like perfect or the right
right.
moment, but I feel like we didn't really touch on that too. Like leadership looks like sometimes it can look mean or
Yeah.
aggressive or not good, but if you see potential in someone and you know their standards and you know, like we were role models at that point, like
Yeah.
we needed to hold ourselves to a standard. And a leader also is not afraid to tell someone that,
Right.
be like, oh, I don't want to ruin our relationship. Like, no, things need to be said.
Yeah.
So
No, yeah. It was just like in that moment that didn't motivate me. That just
right,
like made me angry.
right, it's
And
timing again
yeah.
as well.
And so it's like, and that's what I'm just trying to say, like as much as we like praise like the leaders in our life, like nobody is perfect, no leader is going
Definitely.
to be perfect. And I love what you just said about like accountability because it's so true. Like so many times like I needed that. Like in my head sometimes I could be like, I'm like, I don't know, you just kind of like don't see what's outside of your like blinders and you need
Yeah,
somebody else to come tell you like
kind of
um
wake you up, like,
yeah.
ma'am, this is reality.
Right. But I think it's also like in a way that motivates them because there's some leaders that tried to say things to me that like just did not motivate me. Like I was just like, actually,
That unmotivated
yeah,
motivated me to
this even
this
just set
extent.
me
Like
back
now I
more.
don't even want to play.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So,
No, I get
yeah.
that.
And I think as just like any leader, like don't take like that criticism and feedback like in a negative way. Just know that every leader is going to have those moments where they say the wrong thing at the wrong time, and that doesn't mean they aren't amazing leaders like the people we've talked about. It just means sometimes they're not perfect, and as a teammate or somebody or like a daughter or a player, like communicate that to them and just be like, I admire you as a leader, but like that did not help. Like
Definitely. Like that's always helpful. And again, like we said, a lot of leadership comes down to like being able to step into controversial conversations and
right,
be able to have tough conversations with people that you probably don't want to have or you
you
don't think might not even be helpful, but you know, some things need to be said and worked through for the better. So,
Yeah, no, there was times where I would go to like my coach in college, like literally shaking. Like I do not want to have this conversation with him. Like
hmm,
I really don't. But I know it's the core value in my life and my belief that I have to communicate this to him because if I don't, I'm gonna regret not saying something.
yeah, sometimes like I get leadership is very scary at times, but it's just not, it shouldn't be something that if you feel it's important to you, then you need to say something, even if it is a position of power. Because
Right.
sometimes I think we're like, oh my god, like it's a teacher, it's a parent, it's a professor, it's a job person. Like I can't say that to them. And yeah, of course you need to be respectful, but it's okay to also explain how something is making you feel because
Yeah.
that is beneficial for you and for the leader. So
Yeah, no, I feel like it's a good time now to get into like some examples of how we've positively been affected by leadership and how we've negatively been affected by leadership. I know we talked a lot about positive ones, so I can start with like a negative one right now. Like I remember when I was coming back from my ACL, and I think Livy might have mentioned this in our intro episode, but I'll get into a little more detail. I just gotten, I just torn my ACL, so it was like around November, beginning of November, and the um, athletic trainer at the time, the head athletic trainer, had just like communicated like you should probably redshirt, like if you get surgery in a few weeks, like you're not coming back for the season because it's a revision, which is the same
But
leg.
you've already redshirted once.
Yes, I've already redshirted once, and we had a shortened COVID season, so
Mm-hmm.
that was like 8 games because we
Yep.
made it to the championship, and then I played one full season. So then they wanted me to redshirt my senior season. Anyways, I'm like, I just think the whole vibe of that conversation really just like hit me, and I'm just like, why would somebody in power and who has like the authority to clear me at the end of the day and give me the go ahead to play, why would they put that in my head that I'm already not going to come back when I haven't even had my surgery yet? And like that was somebody I looked up to a lot and like respected and appreciated their work.
Mm-hmm.
And just to hear that coming from a position of leadership, just like really just like made me question my own abilities. And I just think that was really hard conversation. And it's like, as a leader, like, can you instill a growth mindset instead of like a stagnant mindset? Like, can you instill like, hey, it's possible. Like, let's do this. And I just want you to be aware that if it doesn't, like, we're going to be here to support you and we're going to do our best. But just kind of a conversation of like, yep, you're going to have to redshirt. Like, sucks to suck
Right.
was just not what I needed to hear in that moment, especially from somebody I respected and looked up to in like that place because I was in sports medicine so often that I got so close with those people. So hearing that from somebody I looked up to and admired was just not a conversation I needed to hear, and I don't think anybody in my position would have wanted to hear.
Yeah. And to clarify, like this was like the head of sports medicine, which is basically all of Binghamton University's sports medicine, which is for rehabilitation, um, anyone who has any injuries. There's the hot tubs, cold tubs in there. Like it's basically
Yeah.
just where everyone goes for treatment.
Stretching,
Yeah, stretching, rolling out, anything.
ankle taping.
So basically, Tori lived in there. And then just gonna say she did come back.
Yes. So
Thank
I
you.
think it also gave me that like F
Motivation.
you.
Sometimes it's just
Yeah.
like, and again, I feel like we talk about like positive and negative leadership, of course, but sometimes the negative people in your life will make you who you are. So I think
Yeah.
it's, switching that mindset into what can I learn from these people? Like, can I use it as motivation? Can I use it as what I don't want to be, what I don't want to look up to? Like,
Yeah.
not taking everything and letting it get to you. Like, you could have let that get to you and be like, yeah, I'm just going to redshirt. Or
Yeah.
you can use that and turn it around. So I think that's important as well.
Yeah.
But so,
Definitely.
what was a positive experience from leadership?
Yeah, there was a lot, but I would say one like that sticks out in my mind is when I was a freshman. Like I said, I was out with my ACL injury that whole freshman year, but I looked up to a lot of seniors in that class. They were just so fun and happy and carefree and like, but they worked hard and they cheered everybody on so much. And there was a senior captain at the time, and she like was on and off starting and playing at the beginning of the season and making an impact, and then kind of as the season went on she's kind of stopped playing. And I'd seen a lot of like previous players just kind of like check out when that happens, especially being a senior. Like she was done like when the season was over. Like it didn't really matter what she
Yeah,
did.
none of them had like
Yeah,
the
there was
COVID
no
year. That
like
wasn't,
15s or
yeah.
anything like that. So but she continued to just have a smile on her face the entire game, every practice, high fiving people, motivating people, like checking in with me, asking how I was doing, making me laugh. And like, and that in my eyes, like that was a true leader, like somebody who didn't let their own ability to perform and play and like the coach's decision to play another person over them affect their leadership. And I think so many times I've seen that. It's like, if a captain or leader like isn't playing well and doesn't start playing again, like that's it. They check out. They don't do well. Like, and we've seen it so many times. But she was such an inspiration for me. Of like, doesn't matter if you're injured, if you're hurt, if you're just not playing well, if the coach just chose not to play you anymore, you don't have to change who you are, and you don't have to let that affect the way you still rise above and are there for your teammates, support your teammates, and are just a kind light in like everybody's day.
Yeah. And we talked about playing 5 years of Division 1 athletics, and
Mm-hmm.
we talked about some of like the accolades we got and everything. And yeah, credit to us and our family. We talked about our brothers, but like the leaders that we had our freshman year of high school that were seniors, and then the seniors when we were freshmen in college, like made such a big impact. Like I can't even like say how much,
Yeah.
because it really just it made me feel so comfortable in the position I was in. It made me want to work for them. It made me feel like, okay, this is where I belong. Like I'm right here where I'm supposed to belong. Like they guided me every step of the way. And having that leadership is it's really, I mean, we were super lucky.
Yeah, and I think like to anybody that's going to be a senior in high school, going to be a senior in college, like you guys are going to impact the freshmen more than you could ever know. So like do your due diligence to them and be kind and show them like what true leadership looks like, and show them that like just because things don't go your way doesn't mean like you should change your attitude towards them or towards the coaching staff. Like rise above that and be a leader, and you're going to affect their lives in ways that like even like how long ago were we freshmen in high school? Like
I don't
a,
even want to think about
a
that.
long time ago, guys. But like we still think about how like much they helped us in our careers and like guided us in life, and like it's just just think about that, I think, when you're becoming a
Yeah,
senior.
and like you get to where you are with the support of everyone around you. Like
Yeah.
I, I mean, soccer, yes, is a team sport, but so is, again, like the workforce or anything. Like
Yeah.
you need to work together, and having people who are motivating and loving and stuff. Like, I mean, going back to our seniors in college, so I was a freshman and I was like starting and playing, and some of them weren't, but like they never once were like, I should be playing over you. I can't believe like
No,
a
they
freshman.
hyped you
Yeah,
up.
like,
Like
so it's just like having, it was just like, I guess, having their like go ahead, like go be you,
yeah.
do you, like we support you. It doesn't matter how we feel about
Yeah.
the coaching decisions or anything. Like,
No, like literally on the sideline, like we had seniors being like at like to the other team, they'd be like, "She's a freshman." Like, no, yeah, she's a freshman, and like just like really instilling like that confidence in Livy and allowing her to like be like creative and like didn't harp on every mistake you made or like any missed shot, which I'm sure like a lot of girls have experienced
yeah,
in their
definitely. I
lives.
mean, there's so many of our teammates who have talked about their experiences at different colleges, and it was like, yeah, the seniors didn't talk to us, so we had
Yeah.
to carry all of the equipment and do all this stuff, and it was like, we didn't have that. It was like everyone
Right.
does everything together. You need help with something, like we got your back.
Yeah.
Like, if something went down off the field, like we were kind of had this like we're all in this together mentality.
Yeah.
At least that year, and those seniors played such a big part of it.
Yeah, no, like Abby Wambach said, like she's never scored a goal without a pass from a teammate, and
Right.
that goes for everything in life. Like you're never gonna get somewhere without that push from somebody else, or that
Hmm.
like somebody helped you get that job, or they wrote you a cover letter, like anything like that. Like you're never gonna
I
get
think
somewhere
a
without that.
recommendation letter.
Yeah, you write the
You
cover
read the
letter.
cover letter. Well, I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good luck
amazing.
to me as I get into the
Hmm.
workforce, everyone.
Yeah, so kind of like who, obviously, like we were both captains in high school, which was
Yeah.
fun. I was a captain in college. Like who can be a leader, do you think? I mean, obviously, like we know everyone can be, but
Right. No, I think anybody can be a leader. I think it's like it's somebody who wants to be a leader. Like, because
hmm
there's some people that just like don't really feel like they need to be a leader. They just want to go there for fun and show up. And that was kind of me and our club team in high school. Like, I didn't feel the need to like get the team together. I felt my role was to like make jokes and have everybody feel like more comfortable instead of scared.
like a
Or
personality hire.
yeah, no, I'm a personality hire for sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think like but then as I got older, like I did want more of that leadership position and things like that. So I think anybody can be a leader, but you have to want it and you have to work for it. Like you have to get the trust in your teammates, you have to get the trust from your coaches, you have to have trust in yourself.
Hmm.
And without those three things, I think it's going to be very difficult to be a leader.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like we said, no matter like who's listening or who's watching, like you can be a leader, and if you even help one other person in your team that day at practice, like that makes you a leader, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't need to be a captain, you don't need to be the oldest, you don't need to be that talented. Like if
Yeah.
you help someone believe in themselves that day, or you help someone with anything, that can make you a leader.
Yeah. No, for
But
sure.
yeah, I mean, we never did my positive and negative. I guess you just want to only hear yours.
Well, because they are the most important, and my experiences matter over yours.
Mm,
Okay, you go ahead, Livy. You matter too.
thank you, Tori. Um, yeah.
How have leadership in your life negatively impacted you?
Keep it coming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So honestly, I've had so many. We kind of already talked about the positive experiences, but
Yeah.
one that definitely comes to mind is I have a strength and conditioning coach at Binghamton University, and she
I
basically.
said, how does leadership negatively?
Can I do positive
Sure, go
first?
ahead. It's like I don't even matter.
Yeah, because you don't. And
I do.
keep telling yourself
The
that.
listeners love me.
Yeah. Anywho's, so basically, I lived locally, obviously, so Tori had rehab all the time. So over summer and winter
Obviously.
breaks, I was always there training. And, she would come in on Sundays. She would come in on Friday afternoons whenever I needed her to come in to work on agility and strength and speed and basically anything that I needed to work on. We worked on together, and I really don't think I would have got midfielder of the year without her. I don't think I would have made those conference teams, like, because it's very hard to push yourself solo when you've had a training partner your entire life. And like, yeah, it's not like the end of the world. Everyone trains by themselves. I get that. Like, cry me a river, Livy. But
Yeah.
it's definitely just like,
Shut up.
it's, yeah, like, please shut up. But like, the motivation piece was just so hard because I'm like, usually, like, if I didn't want to, she'd be like, all right, let's get our ass up and go. And then if she didn't want to, I'd be like, all right, let's go train. And it'd be like, okay, once we get there, we have the music on, we have our best friend, whatever, good vibes. But in the dead of the winter, when you have no one and you have to run around the indoor track, like it's not the vibe at all. But having her was just a super.
Yeah, and like she had a life. She has two kids, like a husband. Like she had other stuff going on, but she like prioritized you. And like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like strength coaches, like they don't get like there's no like what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know, like not an
No.
accolade, but like
Yes,
recognition.
recognition. They don't get any recognition for like what they do. I feel like
They're very
besides their
behind the
players, they are
scenes.
very behind the scenes. So
Yeah.
I think calling out them for like what they do, and same with like academic counselors and like athletic trainers. Like my direct athletic trainer who I worked with is literally like my favorite person and
Mm-hmm.
helped me so much throughout my time. But I think like they are so behind the scenes and people don't maybe recognize them as leaders, but they definitely are in the way that they go out of their way to help you. And like even like I've had conversations with them that have helped me, like just having somebody there to talk to that I needed in that moment, like that's a leader in my eyes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, there's so many days that I was like, I don't want to do this, but she's like, I'll meet you there, I'll time you, I'll do this and that, and
Right.
it's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
So yeah. Negative, right? Is that what you were asking me for?
Yes, that's what
Mm-hmm.
I was asking them before.
So yeah, I mean, I think being a captain of
She was a captain like every team we played for.
go.
Psych.
Yeah. Anyway,
What?
did you just say that?
Psych.
Are we allowed to cut that?
No,
Um.
because it's hilarious. Okay, go.
Anyways, so I think being a captain, sorry, um, for we had 27 girls on the team, three coaches, whatever. So every time, it's hard balancing what the team wants, what the coaches want, and getting everyone on the same page. So I
Can you
wouldn't.
explain that more?
I'm
Get into
working on it.
depth.
So I guess like just any little thing. Say it was what kind of food we were getting on an away trip, like what color our practice gear was gonna be, how girls were feeling like practice wise, like the
What time?
timing, yeah,
Yeah,
timing of practice,
everything.
like anything. And you have 27 girls, all want different, some want morning practice, some want afternoon practice, some want whatever, and the coaches want a certain thing. And I guess just trying to get everyone's voices heard and trying to feel like, obviously the team wasn't there when I was talking to the coaches, so they had no idea what I was saying. And if the coaches just didn't listen to me and made it okay, practice is this time, and everyone's like, is she even listening to us? Is she even advocating for us? And I think sometimes that was hard because it was
Yeah,
like, I really am like basically trying to get everyone's input and then telling it to the coaches, but sometimes it's their decision, not mine.
right.
um
Well, and I think like there's probably some trust issues there because like not every captain is going to go into the coach's office and say what the team wants.
yeah.
So I'm sure like girls have had previous experience of like their captain just kind of like ignoring what everybody else wants and just like kind of sucking up to the coaches and what they say that they think the team needs. So I think girls kind of like question you because it's like not every leader is going to go in and say that. So like,
Hmm.
are you actually relaying to the coaches what we want you to relay, Libby, or are you kind of just saying, yeah, yeah, of course, girls, yeah, I'm going to say that, and then going in and being like, yeah, Neil, whatever you want, like.
Yeah.
And I think
So
it's hard on both ends, like for you and for the players, like. And I guess like I don't really know how to fix that. Like how did you like work through that? I guess.
yeah, I mean, basically, I would, if anyone asked me, I would be like, of course, I'll tell the coaches
Right.
and see what I can get. If it was specific, but I think when it was a little bit broader, it was like, I'm going to try to tell them, like, the majority of the team wants this versus that. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, being a captain, you're going to get blamed for things, and that's fine, because you are to blame, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. Like, you want that position, so you're gonna have to deal with that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it was also pretty challenging when you were co-captain with someone else who wasn't on the same page as you.
Right.
So some things was like, oh, I think everyone needs to be doing this, and I'm like, ma'am, like that's just like not the reality. And I think a lot of the times captains were people who were playing. So when the
Right.
coaches would ask things, I'd be like, I cannot speak for everyone. I'm starting and playing 90 minutes. So you want to say, how am I feeling at this point in the season?
Right.
I'm fine. But like, this is not the reality of more
Right.
than half the team.
Yeah.
11 people were starting, maybe 14, 15 played out of 27 girls.
Right.
Like, it was just a lot to balance because everyone was going through so many different things at different stages. And I think it was just hard when you like thoroughly disagreed with either the coaches or a different captain, and then you're trying to relate to the team that like you're still there for them.
Mm-hmm.
But again, no one is seeing anything that goes behind the scenes.
Yeah, can you give an example of when like the coach or like the other co-captain was like, I think we should do this, and you were like, I think we should do that, and then like how did you relay that to the team?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of depended. Like my junior year, I was captain, and then there was a senior captain. So
Right.
obviously, like she had a little bit more say and experience than I did. So
Mm.
I think that was a little tricky handling that. Um, but yeah, I mean, there was times where it was like even talking about like going out. So if you were home and didn't travel, were you able to like go out and see your friends and go to parties? Like
Right.
drinking or not drinking, not the point really. Just
Yeah.
can you do that? And a lot of like our coaches and the other captains were like, no, like you're locked into the team, you're going to training, you're still working. And I didn't really agree with that at
Right.
all. I was like, if you're not traveling on the bus with the team, you should be able to go have fun with your friends and socialize
Yeah.
and go out to dinner. You like soccer, yes, it's still your main focus, but right now there's nothing you can do. Like if you went to training, say it was a Saturday morning and our bus left Friday night, and you did your training already, what are you supposed to just sit there the rest of the day and think about how you can be better?
Right.
That's not helpful.
And I
So
I honestly think me being injured played a big role in that mindset for you.
yeah,
Like, and I
definitely.
think people who have friends in their captains or sisters even that might play together, like, will have a better sense of that because, like, you would see me just like crying and upset and just like dreading and being like, why can't I like do anything? Like, I didn't even want to drink. I just wanted to like maybe go downtown and not sit in my dorm and cry. Like, and I think you saw that
That's so
firsthand.
depressing.
Yeah. No,
That's
yeah.
so depressing. But yeah, I mean, definitely seeing it firsthand, and also just like being like just seeing that side, because I
Yeah.
I guess I would want to be doing the same thing. Like
Yeah.
looking internally and being like, okay, if this was me, how would I want to act? Instead of like, no, I'm up here on my high horse. Everyone else, this is your life. This is what you signed up for.
Yeah.
Like, great. Yeah, this is what we all signed up for, but we also have like a life.
Hmm.
And so, anyways, I just kind of addressed it in a way where I was like, just kind of said what I thought, but I think I definitely could have been more assertive and just
Mm.
like, maybe we could do a vote or do things like that because in reality, everyone who's in college or even high school, like you have a good head on your shoulder. Like
Yeah.
you're smart enough to know what's right and what's wrong, right?
Yeah.
So you want to make the decisions that's best for you. But I always felt like that's not really what they do is not directly impacting
Yeah.
like the team right now
Right.
or you. So why are you so worried about it when I think everyone knows what's best for their bodies, their minds. You know, if someone could go out and socialize and then show up the next day at training and push themselves and be present and own it, then why can't they do that? I guess.
Yeah.
So I think it was tricky trying to unfold that between other captains and the coaches.
Yeah. And do you have any advice for anybody, like whether that be high school or college, who's like becoming a leader or a captain, or like they suddenly got the role of captain and they weren't even really like asking for it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would say the most important thing is just like being open to your teammates and not creating this like hierarchy of I'm better. Because I think a lot of people taste a little bit of that and they're like, this is fun, like directing people around.
Mm.
Okay, everyone bring it in. And it's like, yeah, of course, that's part of it. But another part of it is just like showing that you're there for them, like no matter who it is. But it's also being able to speak to your coaches and ask the hard questions
Hmm.
and explain how the team is feeling. Like, do you need an off day? Like, it's hard to ask things, but I guess just being confident in your voice and making sure you're owning it and you're not having regrets and you're not second guessing yourself all the time and you're not letting every single noise outside like you should be doing that, you should be doing that affect you. Like do
Yeah.
what you think is right for the team and putting the team before you always.
Yeah.
Like you can't no matter what you want, if the majority of the team wants something else, like that's your job to relay that. It's not your job isn't to do what you think is best.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I think that's really good advice for anybody listening. And we've talked a lot about kind of the difficulties being a captain, but what are some like rewarding moments? Like, what are some things where you're like, this felt awesome as a captain, or like things you look back on and you're like, this is why I chose to be captain, and this is why I chose to run for
Mhm.
captain?
Oh, so many things. Like that if anyone asked me like my favorite part of college, it was like being able to be a captain and just like being someone people like looked up to and asked questions for. Like I just love helping people. That's always been like a passion since I was little. So definitely that. But I mean even just like recently, like our goalie at Binghamton right now, Becca Kessler, shout out, amazing. She had like 4 saves in
Yeah,
our
quarterfinal.
quarterfinal game at home at Binghamton last week, and I texted her like this message. I'm like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. And she's like, this means so much coming from you. Like, thank you so much. And I guess just like knowing that people like view my opinion in that way and being able
Mm,
to still have that impact even though I'm not on the team was something that felt good. So I think just like always, if someone texted and said, you really helped me out today, or you did this today, or, like you are the definition of leadership, or like you helped me have the confidence to go talk to the coaches today, or you
yeah.
gave me the confidence to try a new move at practice. Like those are the things that I'll always remember, and those will always be my favorite memories, no matter if we won, didn't win, didn't do anything.
Yeah. No, it's such a rewarding position. And I think me not never being a captain in college, I still had those moments with players, and like you don't have to be a captain to have those moments. Like you can just be a leader. Like in my warm up line, like I had this one girl who was like a freshman, and I just kind of like had fun with her and like gave her confidence and like gave her like little bits and pieces of advice, and I think she really appreciated it. And like doesn't have to be the whole team, doesn't have to be always being like on point and on it, like always
Mm-hmm.
prepared. Like it can just be like little things you say to the younger girls, or even like little check-in moments of like I always put like the injured girls first a lot in my mind because they were really important to me and I understood what they were going through a lot of the time. So like being able to check in with them or take them out to coffee or things like that, like that's being a leader, even if like I didn't see it that way at the time, or like
Mm-hmm.
other people didn't see it that way at the time, I can look back on it and be like, I think that improved my leadership qualities, and girls kind of looked up to me and hopefully can pass on that tradition too.
Yeah. And then I was going to ask, like, obviously, both of us had, like, to work on our communication issues through
Mm,
college. So, like, how do you think that affected your, or I guess, our way of
yeah.
being a leader on the field?
Oh, I think it, yeah, I think it definitely impacted it. I think people like loved and respected us off the field so much. I think just because like we were, I think like just, well-rounded teammates in like that regard of just like always like
Just being ourselves.
joking.
Like,
Like,
we weren't
yeah,
trying to be someone we weren't.
no,
Like, what you saw is what you got,
yeah,
I guess I would say.
I agree. And I think our teammates would agree with that for sure. But I think on the field, it definitely like was hard for like our teammates to like look up to us at times, definitely me in more of regard because I was so aggressive and like held such a high standard, and like I also was angry at times with myself because I wasn't playing good and I would deflect and like a lot of different things. But I think having that connection off the field really helps with that because I could apologize or I could just be like, you know, get over it kind of like I'm angry with myself. And I think other girls could help shape that. Like other teammates could be like, hey, Grace, like, relax, Tori's just having a bad day. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because they knew my heart off the field, I think that was helpful. But I think it definitely impacted my leadership because girls were like, I don't want to be like her communication wise. Like, I don't ever want to like talk to my teammates the way she talked to teammates. And that sucked. And I think that's something I can look back on and like, yeah, regret, but know that like I was also trying my best
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't perfect, but
Yeah. And I think that is a huge part of leadership is like knowing that like we talked about in the beginning, everyone is human. Like
yeah,
that's just the reality of life,
yeah,
and people are going to have bad days and good days. And I think, being a leader, communication is definitely a huge piece. So
yeah,
I think also advice I would give to anyone watching is just, or listening, like, work on it, and be
mm,
open to hearing new ideas about it, and
yeah,
be open to, but also, like, don't change yourself because someone wants you to, but also,
mm-hmm,
you know if you're even leading, like we talked about, leading that one person, like,
yeah,
go ask them, like, how do you want to be spoken to? And in the heat of the moment, that's hard, right?
right,
Like, we already talked about that, like, in game situations, something needs to be done, it's going to get done, that's fine. But, having those follow-up conversations and just building those connections off the field so that when things do happen on the field, it's not seen as a
yeah,
targeted towards you. It's just like, this is what's going on.
yeah. Yeah, and I had a hard time with a lot of girls sometimes of just like they would be upset with me after the games or like upset with me after practice and like yeah, I'd have to talk to them and work. Then Neil would call me and be like, "Did you talk to them after you blew up on them?" I'm like, "Yes." But yeah, I think that it impacted my role as like potential captain too. Just like you can't have that aggressive communication style if you're going to be a leader on the field. But I mean, that's just the reality of what I was like, and it's hard, but
Yeah.
I think some other girls probably can relate to that and feel that. So
Yeah. And there's also, like, so many leaders who never even stepped on the field, like we talked about, that we
yeah,
had. Like, no matter what position you're in, at work, in school, on the field, off the field, like, just know you can be a leader. And then,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I also want, like, anyone watching, like, again, if you have questions or comments or want to,
yeah,
like, hear more about this topic or what we went through, like,
yeah,
we would love to answer those.
yeah, and also just like know like anybody can be a leader. Like Libby said, just lead that one person or lead yourself. Like that can also you can also lead yourself by respecting yourself, holding high standards, setting boundaries, all those things like that. But
Yeah, and definitely acknowledging, when you went wrong and then how to fix that. Like, I
yeah,
think self leadership for me a lot of time was like, okay, I didn't handle that the best way. That feels crappy. Now
mm,
what can I do to go and fix that? Like, you can't go back and change it,
right.
but going forward, how can I be a better leader, a better person, all that.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that's all we have for today, everyone. We hope you enjoyed. Again, leave comments, share the word to anybody in your life that's becoming a leader or wants to be a leader or anything like that. But yeah, hope you all have a good day.
Yep. Recently got retired on IG. Follow us.
Bye.
Oh my god, my mind is just